Hello YouTube, it's me, the Osh channel. I'm back again with another theory video. If you've read the title, you'll have seen the gist of it, but if you haven't, I'll quickly explain it. So I think in episode 2 of Doctor Who, The Flux, when Dan meets his parents, after he gets, teleported away from the Doctor in the Crimean War, when Dan meets his parents have been dead. Let me explain. So, I think that before this, his parents have been dead, and the Flux has done something to either bring them back, or some timey-wimey stuff has happened, and they sort of just drifted through and came back, like, naturally. It's definitely a possibility, because it's stuff we've seen before, and it's not unlike the Flux to mess around with the time and things on the Earth being the way they are. Like we see in that same episode, Russia is completely unwritten out of everyone's minds until they hear the name and they're like, oh, what's that? That sounds familiar, but they all know it as Sontar. This isn't a completely baseless theory. I have some points. Oh, also, this isn't my theory, it's my mum's, because me and my mum watched Doctor Who together, and she came up with this theory, and I heavily agreed, spoke to some Doctor Who friends about it. They all thought it was quite a good theory. There's a disclaimer for you. It's Mother Osh's. So, the first point is, when he first meets them in the episode, he's sort of surprised they would be there. Now, you could write this off as just, he's surprised they're out and about and not, like, indoors. But it seems more he's surprised to see them, because the way he sort of interacts with them is like, what? No, this is weird that you are here. And it's sort of like, wouldn't he just go, oh yeah, no, Mum and Dad, hi. It's weird that you're out, but hello. And like the way he interacts with them, I think, is quite, it's like he hasn't seen them in a while, I think. And I think that gets reflected again in some other points. But it definitely feels like maybe he hasn't seen them in a while, or he's lost contact with them. That's the first point. Then we move on to the second point, which would be in episode 1, there is photos on his fridge, and on the photos on his fridge, it's lots of him and his mates. But on the photos on his fridge, it looks like specific people are covered by, like, either magnets or other photos. I think there's a possibility that he is covered up, like, if he went to a football game with his, like, dad and his mate, he's covered up his dad because he doesn't like seeing the photo of him because he's passed away. I think this is a very heavy possibility, because in real life, sometimes when people die, people get to get rid of all the stuff that reminds them of them. So it's a very heavy possibility that actually you've covered up this photo and went, oh no, we're not gonna look at that. And then, another, just to back up sort of the first point again, well, not the first point, but the point I made in the first point, which is the amount of inside jokes in the first scene, I think, is quite peculiar. Like
You found that out?
Oh, fella in Birkenhead.
He was drunk, with a mallet. Birkenhead.
And the amount of like inside jokes made in that one scene, it feels like after you haven't spoken to someone for quite a long time, you revert to what you like sort of last spoke to them about, so all those in-jokes would still be sort of there, especially if you didn't know what was going on in their life, and you only wouldn't really know what's going on in their life if you hadn't spoke to them, because they'd been dead. I'm aware this is quite a sensitive subject, by the way, so I'm trying to go around it quite sensitively. My mum pointed out as well that because her mum died when she was quite young, whenever she like dreams of her mum, it's never like going on big adventures, it's always just sort of sitting down, having some tea, talking. It's never like proper intense dreams, it is always just sitting down at a table and talking to each other and, joking like you would with one of your parents. And she thought that was quite reflective almost of how he interacts with them in this episode. One of my final points, I'll see if I can come up with any more after, but one of my final points is we see Dan struggling quite a lot, and usually the people go to when they're struggling like Dan is would be their parents, or would Dan's parents never have gone round to his house, you know what I mean, or gone round to his house and gone, oh, do you need any help, do you need some food or something, and even if he said no, I feel like the way we see them, they sort of would. I feel like they would go round and help him, or when the dad says, "Oh, is your house being shrunk?" or something along those lines. I forget exactly what he says. Surely they'd like offer you a place to stay, or they'd offer you some food, but we don't really see them do that. Is that because they don't have a house or materialistic objects to their name? We don't really know. Just another quick point that Mum's just given me. With the car that they drive is we've checked with my stepdad who likes cars. He's pretty sure it's from around 1978 car. It's a Volvo from around 1978, and that's a long time to keep a car. Apart from if it's a car that you remember your parents driving. So the flux sees that and goes, oh, that's the last car they drove, that must be their car. Whew. Or if it is Dan, just imagining him going, oh, that was the last car they drove, there it is. Because that's a long, and especially to keep it up that well, I don't know, obviously people drive old cars around a lot, but not that casually, especially if they're that old, I feel. You get what I'm going for here, and I feel like it would make sense in his imagination or in the Flux's creation of them, for them to have an old car if that was the last car they drove before they died, which would be a more decent time span, because if we're estimating, it might have been like 20 years. Oh, and another point I've just thought of, no one ever sees them apart from Dan. And then he doesn't speak to them about anyone else. You don't tell anyone he's went to see his parents, or his parents told him such and such. You don't tell anyone that his parents told him about hitting him in the back of the head. And then, the parents don't go in with him anywhere. He doesn't... nobody else, even Centaurans or Corvinista, don't see his parents. So it could be that either he's, imagining them to make himself feel better, or again, the Flux has brought them back, but it's slightly odd how they've done it. Oh, yeah, another point. We know that Doctor Who is quite a family-oriented show, and when they get into companions, they often like to explore their family dynamic. And I feel like they haven't really explored it. Obviously we've seen their parents, but we haven't explored it properly. So with Rose, we know her mum and her dad. With Martha, we meet all of her family, and they're amazing. And Donna, again, loads of we meet Big Man Wilf and her mum Amy. Obviously her family dynamic's a bit different. Her family dynamic is even a bit timey-wimey though. Gets a bit complicated at times, but we know she has a family and they explore that. Even Riversong is her family, they explore that family dynamic. Bill, we know she has a dead mum, they explore that a bit. Clara, of her family dynamic, is a leaf. Ryan, Graham and his grandma, we see that. And Ryan's dad, for instance, Yaz, we've met her family, we see their dynamic, we understand how they work. The only one we haven't seen yet is Dan. So this plus all the things I've just said does lead me to think maybe Dan's parents were dead before the Flux, and the Flux has brought them back. Either brought them back, or he sort of imagines them being there as a sort of coping mechanism to help himself. If you've got any disprovers to this theory, put them down in the comments. If you've got any other add-ons to the theory, put that down in the comments as well, because I'd love to see that. If you've just got anything else you want to say, put that in the comments. If you don't, subscribe, like to see more videos like this on your homepage. That helps me and it helps you too. Love you, bye bye.